we've got our own Super Bowl, and that's on Wednesday, and that's featuring Arsenal and City. The odds I'm about to read to you come to us via Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Remember to sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive offer in New Jersey and Colorado. Bet $1 on any game, get 200 free. BJ, this is a huge game for you.
It is.
Your team, Arsenal, plus 190 at home. They're underdogs to Man City, coming off a thrashing of Aston Villa. They're plus 125 on the road. Perhaps all is well at the Etihad. After all, the draw is plus 260. Arsenal coming off a loss to Everton. Then they drew with Brentford in a game I don't even think they deserve to get a point out of.
Oh, stop.
But is the market kind of overlooking the Gunners off those two performances?
Yeah, I mean, this is just a classic sell high spot on City and a buy low spot on Arsenal. I really don't think that the Gunners should be underdogs because first off, these two teams just played in the FA Cup. What was that, 2 weeks ago on a Friday? Arsenal rolled out, not entirely their B team, but a lot of second choice players. While City, remember, it was at the Etihad, and Pep played pretty much a full strength squad, and City did absolutely nothing in the entire match. They had just 0.32 expected goals and an expected threat of 0.68, 2 penalty box shots. And both those came after Thomas Partey came off the pitch in favor of Lokonga, who's already now at loan at Crystal Palace. So yes, Arsenal has not played well the last few matches. They were outplayed by Everton, and then for large stretches was outplayed by Brentford, even though they got screwed on the set piece goal. That VAR just forgot to draw the line where it should be. So that was fun. But no, I mean, Arsenal, this is Arsenal at home. They've been unbelievable there this season, plus 1.4 expected goal differential per 90 minutes. While City, when they've played the big six away from home, they haven't played too well. If you go back and look, they played Liverpool when Liverpool was pretty far down and at their lowest. Liverpool outplayed them, or outcreated them on expected goals 2.1 to 1. They're really the only time they've actually beaten a team on expected goals was against Chelsea, who was at their low point after the World Cup as well. They got outplayed, obviously, by United, and then they recently just got outplayed by Spurs. So I'm not so sure that they should be a favorite here. I get it. They just beat Aston Villa and they created a bunch of expected goals, but the game state kind of changes when you score off a set piece goal in the 3rd minute. So I'd like to see how that match would play out if Villa didn't concede inside the first 3 minutes. So I will be playing Arsenal. I do have them projected at plus 150 and City at plus 177. So I think the line should actually be flipped. I don't really think Arsenal should be an underdog here. So I'm rolling with my Gunners. Draw no bet. Plus 105. I don't think they should be an underdog. I think City still has problems.
I kind of like the draw here for a couple of reasons. One, two really good defenses, two teams that do a lot of the same things well. And I just don't think either team would be that upset with getting a point out of this match. I think had Arsenal not dropped 2 points over the weekend, it would be a different story. But now the calculus kind of changes a little bit, and City can play more of a big picture view of this game and say, all right, well, let's just, we're 3 points back. I know Arsenal's got a game in hand, but if we kind of just stay here and bet on ourselves to have the better stretch run, that's not a terrible tactic, let's say. So I think Anthony's bet kind of plays into this a little bit, or at least where he's looking. I think that this is going to be a little bit of a snoozer. That used to be the cliche with when these two teams, not Arsenal and City, but when 1 versus 2 would play prior to the classics between City and Arsenal over the past few years, that we would say, these games oftentimes end up being slugfests and kind of boring, and both teams play pragmatically, and then it stopped. That trend kind of stopped for a couple seasons, and I think we're going to actually head back towards that and see two teams. So I like to draw plus 260. I don't hate an exact score of maybe 0-0. You'll get a good number because people will expect some goals. But that's where I'm looking here. I'll probably be on the draw.
Yeah, I lean toward the under at 2.5. It's a little bit dicey, but 2 3/4. If we get there, I really like the under. This Arsenal attack has shown some signs of weakness in the last couple of weeks. And I think that we're going to continue to see that with Jesus being out. I know BJ mentioned last week that he thought Nketiah was better. I would strongly disagree. And I think you're kind of seeing that a little bit. The thing that concerns me is we know what we're getting from Arsenal. Like they've been playing pretty much the same 11 for the last pretty much all season, sub one guy here or there. But we don't know what we're going to get from City from a lineup perspective. Like he played a back three today with a ton of attackers on the field. Rodri Gundogan double pivot, Rico Lewis benched, and then played, three in front of them, three in front of Rodri and Gundogan, and then Holland up top. I think we may see the same, but then you're asking a lot of your wide center backs to guard flanks, and you're asking a lot of guys like Mahrez to track back and defend, or De Bruyne if he depending on where he ends up in that formation, Grealish getting back defensively. Like there's a lot of question marks about it. Pep can really get away with being that aggressive on the road at Arsenal. Now, if he wants to go full tilt and try to outscore them, I obviously don't like my under in that situation. So this is going to be one of those games where I kind of have to wait a little bit until we get closer to game time and potentially even lineups, let the market settle, because I'm not quite sure where we'll end up on this one. But in terms of just like where I am on both of these teams, if you listen to this show every week, that I'm still believe that Arsenal is not good enough to be more than a goal better than their opponents per 90, which they've been in the first half. I think regression comes there. But City's attack has been pretty lackluster overall too. They had a good game today, over 3 expected goals, over 2.5 non-penalty, good showing. Definitely was an inspired performance, which, I guess we could have expected after a couple of, Pep kept challenging them and tinkering the lineup. But yeah, I mean, I struggle with this match. I'm not going to feel forced to bet it. We've got Champions League on the same time. It'll be a great day for the triple box, but yeah, I kind of agree with Leboff's angle too, though. Like a draw isn't a bad result for either side.
And let's not forget the last 2 matches from Arsenal, it's going to be a completely different approach, right? Because they've played 2 teams that play very, very deep low blocks and look to counter them. City's probably going to control the majority of the possession. Even if we go back to last year, I know it wasn't, things are obviously very different right now, but Arsenal really did outplay City for a large stretch of that match at the Emirates. They countered them really, really well. And then Gabriel got a dumb red card. They got City got a phantom penalty. And then from there, the match got flipped on its head and Rodri scored to win 2-1. But I think if you see a similar game plan from Arsenal, who can sit deep, who does defend well in transition and can counter City, yeah, Anthony, I agree with you. It's going to be a very interesting approach. Does Pep go like what he did against Tottenham, which was a very defensive approach, very afraid of getting hurt on the counter, or does he go very attacking? I think he probably wasn't very afraid of Aston Villa countering them. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what he does. But yeah, it's going to be, Arsenal's in bad form, but it's just a completely different style of play and a completely different opponent in City, where they're going to, Arsenal's going to have to play more defensive, which they did a good job of in the last meeting.
Yeah, and going back to that January meeting, like I think that that game was headed way toward an under. I mean, it was going to be a 1-0 Arsenal win, look like, until the penalty. So they did a really good job of suppressing City's shots, which is something Tottenham just did, which is something that Arsenal did a good job of in the FA Cup. So, if City's going to have a lot of stale possession, I think it's interesting that, you look toward the under. Also, I mean, at this point, like Brentford and Everton did a really good job pressing, I thought. And I don't know that City's at that level of energy off the ball. They have not been the same pressing team this year. So it'll be interesting. Of course, they're dominant possession, but with the impetus being on the road favorite, this is an easy pass for me in terms of the side.